Hey Liam,
Hey, Dan,
I've got a joke from you.
let's hear it.
I was recently reading an accounting industry monitor report. You wouldn't know much about it, but I found that 81% of people, accountants, want a cloud solution. What's the other 19% doing? That would just be. Surely it's 100%, right? That's a joke. That's definitely a joke.
You'd think so, but some people really, really like their older tools. So there you go.
That's funny. All right, let's play the intro.
Hi, this is Tim. This is just a heads up that all the advice you're hearing in this podcast is general in nature. If you want something more specific, then feel free to contact us.
Drunk accountant, drunk account, drunk, drunk accountant, drunk accountant, drunk account, drunk, drunk accountant, drunk accountant, drunk accountant.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. My name is Dan, and that's normally where Tim would say his name. It is the one drunk accountant today, but instead, with me to talk about MYOB's Accounting Industry Monitor Report, we have Liam Hindle, Head of Product Marketing. Liam, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
It's good to have you here. Now, you, like right or wrong, you specifically said that I'll come on the podcast and talk about this report, but only if Tim isn't there. Like you refused to have Tim here on the podcast today.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, for obvious reasons, I won't go into them.
For obvious reasons, we don't, and to be honest, the podcast is better without Tim. I've always said that. Every time he's away, things just go better. But, he's having fun in Palm Cove this week, hence why he's not on the show. But Liam, how's things? What have you been up to?
Things are pretty good. We've been doing a fair bit lately, although we've had an uninvited guest in our house this last week by the name of Influenza A, which has been rather unpleasant.
Yep.
The first case of hubris-generated flu, I think.
Hubris-generated flu?
Yeah. My own hubris has caused this. I proudly proclaimed to people that my kids were now at a certain age, 3 and 5, where I'm past them bringing germs into the house every week, and this is the year where I don't get sick. And then I've gotten quite sick. So there you go.
What I love about this is Tim's not here, but he's here in spirit, because this is exactly the kind of thing that he'd be saying right now.
I know.
I was actually talking to someone earlier today whose kids are in high school, and they were out all week, including them with a stomach bug. So I think, I hate to tell you, Liam, it just means it doesn't stop.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So just another 10 or 15 years of it. That's cool.
Yeah, and then you'll be fine. A funny thing that you've said then, which has just raised something. Before COVID, right? Let's say BC, before COVID. We used to say things like, "I have a cold," and that was when you were sick, but you could get about. You could more, and then everything else was the flu.
Yep.
Since COVID, everyone now knows what kind of flu they have. They're like, "Oh, I've got influenza A, or I've got influenza B, or whatever it is."
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
I went for A. I assume A is better, but that's what it's that's what our test said. But yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? Like, I think everyone wants to know, and everyone wants to be sure that they're not spreading something particularly nasty. So, but yeah, like you would have just soldiered on and gone into the office and then gotten your entire business sick and wasted so much productivity, and then felt good about yourself because that was just what you did pre-COVID.
Wasn't one of the cold and flu tablets their marketing slogan, like "soldier on"?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Just go and get everyone sick. Like, take this tablet and then go spread these germs. That's basically what they were telling you.
I love that. That's funny. Well, I feel sorry for you, but I did not get sick this week. I don't have kids, and so lived my life, without that fear. Other than that, my week, what have I been up to? Tim's away, so I'm busy in the office. And I was trying to think about what kind of segment I wanted to do in this part with you, Liam, coming on, because I know I think you've heard a few episodes of our podcast in the past, and we had some famous segments in the past that I know you and others have been a fan of, such as F Boy or Not, which I know MYOB came in as Nice Guy. Which was good. That's a good place to be.
Yep.
There was a few other segments I thought, but I just decided, you know what? It's your first time on the pod. I'm not going to throw you under the bus here. Let's just have a classic. What have you been up to kind of conversation. And yeah, I'm glad I did. You've been sick. It's an easy way to work your way in.
No, I appreciate that. Long time listener, first time caller, and you go easy on me as a result. So
Yeah.
thank you, Dan. Very kind.
Well, anyone who requests Tim not to be here is gets treated well by me on this podcast. All right. Well, what you're here to talk about today, as I said at the beginning, and full disclosure, you guys actually sponsor the Podcountant Network, us and Heather Smith's Accounting Apps podcast. So you're probably hearing an ad already at the beginning of this episode about this report, but we're going to dive into some of the findings today, and that is the MYOB Accounting Industry Monitor Report of 2025. And I've read the report, and I found a few things in there very interesting, including that 19% of people didn't want a cloud solution. But really, I wanted to start the conversation around, how did this report come about and its reason?
Yeah, cool. So, look, we released the report a couple of weeks ago, the MYOB Accounting Industry Monitor for 2025. We do it with a research agency called Kantar and surveyed 370 accounting practices across Australia of all shapes and sizes. So sole operators, 100 plus employees, metro, regional, MYOB customers, non-MYOB customers, just a representative sample. And what we're looking to understand from this was how are practices running their businesses and in particular their operations? What are they doing to try to grow their businesses? What's holding them back? What role does technology play in that? And ultimately, in the report, we spotlight a cohort that we call progressives.
Yep.
And these are firms that have really strong revenue growth and profitability. And then we compare their habits to everybody else.
Yeah. You might not have these stats in front of you, but what is really good revenue growth and profit growth? What was the criteria there? Is it 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%?
Yeah, we didn't have the specific numbers, but it was more like a self-reporting mechanism in there and really looking for people to sort of, call out like, what is it that I'm actually trying to achieve and am I achieving them?
Yeah.
And look, the big sort of theme I think that comes out really loud and clear is capability and people.
Yeah.
So, not tech, not AI. They're important pieces of the puzzle as well. But capability ends up being the strongest predictor of growth and profitability.
Yeah, you did. I was reading there's a big section at the start about retaining talent and having talent, and that was a big focus. So what is it in that you found, was most important?
Yeah, so look, nearly every practice wants to grow their revenue and or become more profitable, right? It's probably very unsurprising. That would be something any business owner would be wanting to achieve.
Yep.
But growth plans look really different from practice to practice. What's consistent, though, is that in most cases, people need more capacity to be able to invest in growing their business.
Yeah.
And our report shows that 71% of firms have said that there's a significant talent shortage. And this is not a new thing. This is something that's been like this skill shortage in the sector has been a thing for 10 to 15 years now.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I'd probably interested in your views on it, Dan. Like, have you guys been trying to recruit at any time recently? And what has your experience been?
Yeah, we're not currently recruiting now, but we went through a phase of trying to find team members, and it was really hard. For the longest time, we'd always been a technology first business. If we could find a way to make things more streamlined and more efficient, then that's the way we'd target it first. If we couldn't find that, we'd try and find people to fill that role. And I kind of feel like we were 10 years too early on that mindset because AI wasn't there yet to help us do that. But it's the same reason most of the industry have turned to outsourcing, right? Axsource is another sponsor of our network and someone that we actually use for outsourcing. And it was a necessity. We just couldn't find the people to do the work.
Yeah, and your experience is not unique, as the report shows, and it doesn't matter like from my experience talking to accountants, especially over the last few months, it doesn't matter where you're based, the size of your business. It's not a unique challenge. It's really it's really difficult for everybody who are trying to find more accountants to bring into the business.
Mm.
And so, like, what we find through the report is that if a practices want to trying to, either open up new revenue streams,
Mm.
maybe move into tax consulting or business strategy or
Mm.
other sort of advisory type services, they're really having to invest in the people that they have and try to
Yeah.
find ways to, automate and streamline their day to day so they can get the time back to be able to do those things. And if you go back to that group of progressive firms, so the ones who are, high growth and high
Mm.
profitability, 53% of them are doing at least a day a month on compliance training, and
Yeah.
47% of them are doing time spent on broader professional development as well. So, like, investing back in people and finding and creating the space for them to improve their own skill sets is a really important part of the picture.
Yeah, I found that stat fascinating. I wrote that down in my notes here as well. That yeah, 1 day a month in training, but half of them were also doing 1 day a month in just professional development generally, not tax and compliance specific training.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it. And like, it's interesting too, because, and we'll touch on some of the other themes out of it as well, but
mm.
broadly in that sort of people theme, you need to make sure that, your people remain compliant. That we live in a country with a huge amount of regulation and more seeming to come at any given time. So,
Mm.
you need to make sure that the people in your business are up to speed with that. But it's I think where you see the breakaway is the firms that then invest additional time in other capabilities.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
Yeah.
look, I think if we sort of have a look at the other piece, so you can broadly call that people.
Yep.
There's a process component too, and the firms
Mm.
that are in that high growth zone, they spend a huge amount of time investing in reviewing the way that they work. So,
Yep.
81% of the top performing firms regularly review and improve how they
Mm.
operate, which is big. Like, they actually sit down and go, it's very intentional. They sit down and
Mm.
go, well, okay, these are the processes that we run in our business. These are
Mm.
the areas in which our most important resources are spending their time day to day.
Mm.
And hang on, we've got all these different ways that people are doing it. So,
Yeah.
this person over here does this thing like that. Over here, you got someone doing it totally differently. And what you see is that firms in this space, a lot of them are spending time, 70% of them are spending time trying to standardize those workflows
Yeah.
and then automate the repetitive tasks within them as well.
I can completely relate to this. This is exactly the journey that we're on right now in our business. Is that we've been in a journey over the last 12 months or so to standardize a lot of our practices to make them repeatable and as efficient as possible. And now we're on a journey to how do we automate around it. What I really found interesting in the report is towards the end in the tech sort of component of it. It showed areas into the future where people were thinking they might have the most benefit. And the top few really felt more about processes and admin around the job rather than the actual job itself. It said tax returns was all the way down at like 27%. People said that was their focus. And it was more on timesheets and invoicing and some general accounting, bookkeeping sort of work, but not really the actual compliance part of a job. It was more just the admin around it. A lot of an accountant's annual tax job is admin at the start and at the end.
Yeah,
um, yeah,
absolutely. And you want to be able to invest your like, I'm going to Liam explain you how to run an accounting practice, but you
yeah. Thanks.
obviously you want to make sure that your most important asset, your
Mm.
accountants, are freed up to be able to do the things that only they can do.
Yeah,
And I think what that sort of part of the report is showing us is a combination of there's a lot of low-hanging fruit outside of the core
mm.
compliance workflow. There's a lot
Yeah,
less risk in introducing automation into those things too.
yeah,
Like, we've all seen what amazing things generative AI can do, and we'll talk a bit about
mm.
some of those things as well. But we've also seen the hallucinations and the errors that it can make. And
Yeah,
so, like, you will see accounting practices prioritize bringing these general purpose AI tools into the non-compliance part of the workflow to begin, because there's
Yep.
lots there. Like, as you said, there's a lot of different things that you can automate there, and a lot of ways that you can make things a lot more efficient. Ultimately, you will get to a point where the compliance workflow will have AI tools built into it as well. But getting started by standardizing your workflows is like the number one thing to do, and I think you guys are obviously off to a good start there.
Yeah, well, I guess I'd classify us as a progressive firm.
There you go.
Hopefully.
There you go.
I hope that's the case. Not always. Sometimes it does feel like you're just stuck, trying to get the work done rather than working on those systems. But it's the classic business owner problem, right? Working on the business instead of in the
Yeah.
business, and having those things pull you in different directions. But yeah. So what else are people doing then?
Yeah. So the other big thing, so kind of got people, process. Next big theme for me is around customer.
Yeah.
And so, if you're wanting to, again, I go back to the growth aspirations that people talk about, and wanting to unlock new revenue streams, wanting to move into more strategic areas. Well, you can't have those strategic conversations if you're not talking to your clients. And so progressive firms have an average of 2.2 client interactions per week.
Yep.
And they spend 47% of their meetings with new or prospective clients. So continuing to try to grow the business. And that for me was really interesting. I think investing in being available either sort of face to face or through virtual meetings, and really sort of putting a lot of energy into prospects that you're potentially bringing into the business. Maybe it's not surprising, but that's just stood out loud and clear. Like, you compare the numbers of what those firms are doing versus ones that are in the other buckets, and that was a real standout.
Yeah, I did think that as well. Onboarding, let's put to the side the pipeline of new clients coming in, and instead, once you've already signed them on, getting them on board, doing all those admin processes around it's a huge pain. It's a pain in our business. It's a pain in every other accounting firm we know. They all build, piecemeal systems that have several things because everyone's internal processes are all different. And I found that interesting as well. I think one of the stats in the report was around a lot of people looking for a single solution rather than all these things plugging in together. So it's funny, the market definitely went to that, tech stack marketplace sort of mentality to now people being like, I wish I just did this in one, this in
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that there's choice for people, because some people will want to have like the best in breed for everything, and they will have the time, the inclination, and the desire to piece that together and manage that themselves.
Yeah.
Others will have none of that, and just want the thing that does the job well enough. And then there's a lot of people in between those two as well. But yeah, I think potentially we are seeing like a little bit more of all right, well, let's sort of rein some of this in. I think we've done research previously that's shown like businesses around Australia, there's a lot of businesses that have multiple digital tools that they don't use. And they kind of have, like, you think about all the streaming services that you potentially subscribe to as a consumer, and you don't watch half of them. You end up with similar things in businesses too. But yeah, look, the client onboarding experience is an interesting one that came up sort of loud and clear. Like, first impressions are really important as well. And if it's a painful experience for you and the client, then it's clearly an area where you want to find ways to automate it and make it easy.
Yeah, there was a piece in the report about your social media use as well, and I think which group was it? It's the not the one of the middle categories. Were actually the biggest users of all the social medias, which I found fascinating. That was sort of 90% on LinkedIn, 90% on Facebook. But I imagine it's how you're using your tech to utilize that and get that information out there, right?
Well, exactly. I think technology is one of the tools that you use to do your job. And when it comes to things like social media, you need to be really intentional with what you're actually using it for. Like, are you using it to generate demand and to get more prospects into your business? Are you using it to educate your existing customers so that like it's easier to work with them and you potentially open up other revenue streams with them? Or are you just using it and you don't really have a system, but you're just pushing things out because you enjoy it? And all of those things are valid in their own right somewhat.
Yeah.
But the more intentional you are, the better outcomes you'll drive.
Pushing things out because we enjoy it feels like a personal attack, Liam.
That was an attack on Tim. We got
Yeah,
yeah,
thank
not on
you.
you, not on you. Yeah, yeah.
Thanks for realizing. Thanks for pointing that one out. So really, it's funny because I think when you speak to some accountants out there, the feeling about AI and the feeling about tech was initially worry, right?
Yeah,
How is this going to
absolutely.
impact us? What's going to happen to our jobs? But the report seems to reflect the importance of the people in this role, and things are going to get more and more automated. But was there anything that came out in the research to you that reflected maybe some of that concern, or how people are approaching it, or what's your personal view, or how do you think that's what direction that's heading?
Yeah, I mean, the report and also the last month we've been on the road
Mm,
around Australia connecting with our customers, and there's a range of attitudes towards AI.
mm,
There's some healthy skepticism. There's some people who are like diving right in and using it in all sorts of different ways.
mm,
Um, I think ultimately what we're going to see with AI, and this probably sounds like a bit of a trope to some people who have heard this before, but I
yeah.
think it's becoming quite true, is that you're not going to have people in the accounting space get outright replaced by AI tools. But
Yep.
what you are going to see are accountants that are using these tools well are going to
Mm,
outpace those who are not. And
mm,
they'll be faster, they'll be more accurate, their clients will be more satisfied, and they'll just generally outperform those who are not using these tools.
mm,
That seems to be the sort of consensus as to where things are going with it, at least in the short term. Like the long term, it's incredibly difficult to try to predict what a technology like AI is going to do.
mm,
Um, but we spoke when we were on the road. We spoke a lot about how it's helping to shift. It's helping to drive a shift in the role that people have been crying out for a long time, which is to move from like doer to reviewer,
yeah.
and to sort of move away from it just being like, okay, check this thing, check this thing, check this thing, and be more of a business partner. And many accountants do this already today. And a
Mm,
lot of them, and you can see it through the research, want to be able to do it, but don't have the time to do it. And that's like shift the role to be more of like the business partner, the business coach, and
mm,
yeah, like compliance is part of it. And that's going to be, a really sustainable revenue stream. But it's all the other services that clients are calling out for. And if I actually pair it with another report we did recently,
yeah.
71% of small business owners, this is from a June report that we did, want to continue working with their advisors, which is basically bookkeepers, accountants, and other similar sorts of professions.
Yeah.
And another 11% want more from them in the coming 12 months. So, despite people having these AI tools and the ability to look
Mm,
things up themselves and get advice on their business themselves, they're coming to you guys for the
mm.
assurance, the certainty, and also the fact that you can certify the information and put their minds at ease.
Yeah, exactly. I think accountants have always offered more than just a lodgement service because, a lot of softwares already do that. I
Exactly.
think what you offer is that human touch, that element of certainty, of bouncing things back and forth. And also, right now, as great as AI is, as you said, it is prone to hallucinations, getting information wrong. It can't accurately do things that an accountant can on that compliance space. And if it ever gets there, well, then I've often thought all of our clients want more from us. This will just help us do that more.
Absolutely. Like you think of the productivity gains for the broader economy if it's done
Mm,
really well.
mm,
It's really significant because you could argue that you've got like this large group of people who can help make businesses more productive, but
mm.
they're kind of swimming in having to navigate government
Red tape.
regulations and
Yeah.
red tape and all of those
Mm,
sorts of things. So, yeah, it's really exciting what could happen over the next few years with this.
mm. So with that in mind, I think there was a quote at the top of the report. It was something along the lines of it's a pivotal moment for the accounting industry, and where resilience is shaped by adaptability. And I was thinking about that, and I said, that's completely true. This report is showing that the more adaptable you are to this technology, the more that you embrace it, the better you actually go. How is the software like MYOB? And in the past, you guys have even admitted several times that, maybe you didn't adapt as quick as you needed to in years gone by, but that's quickly changing. You guys are doing a lot recently. How is it that a software like MYOB is going to help accountants or help small businesses really keep pushing forward? Or what is it that you're doing, or what is it that you're thinking?
Yeah, so I won't give you the full sort of product spiel, but I think I'd call out a couple of things that we've been working on and that are out at the moment that are really important. So within our MYOB business products, so ones used by your clients and many of your listeners, we're using AI in some really safe but meaningful ways within bank transactions, and making sure that they're getting coded and using AI, machine-based AI, so not generative AI that can make mistakes,
Yep.
that can basically learn and improve and suggest categories so that you can match bank statements more effectively. So that's sort of one of the ways that we're introducing it into products in a really safe way, because we are conscious that the more that you put things like generative AI into really important things like your bank statements or your accounting workflows, you've got to do this in a way that really sort of works well and doesn't cause any downstream issues. The other piece for accountants, so we've got our new practice compliance platform, the client accounting module within that, where we have our new cloud-based work papers and financial statements. We're using AI to help map client data out of client files into the system so that you can get live streams of data from your clients, no matter what they're using, into the platform. And then there's a range of other AI applications within it. And again, the sort of guiding principle behind all of it is ensure that we have the accountant and the end user in control. So surface information to them, but don't make decisions on their behalf. You give them the information to make the decision. So basically help them spot irregularities more quickly, but don't go and do things on their accord. Let the accountant be the one who makes those calls.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think the choice is important. I think as well, I'd imagine in the background, you guys and any other software out there, it's, a lot of these AI tools are really great at writing code now. They're really great at getting things going. So these roadmaps you might have had that were 2, 3, 4 years away might be able to happen sooner. So some of the exciting things you're thinking of could become a reality sooner than what might have initially been thought of 2 years ago. Which would be, that's exciting for me too. I can imagine a whole lot of progress in the app sort of marketplace.
For sure. Like we've had the AI Everyday program. It's actually featured in today's AFR. Our chief people officer is in there talking about it. But this program that we've been running for the last 12 months has been encouraging people to find tools that are relevant to their space and start experimenting. And so, we've been using a whole range of AI applications within our dev teams, which has seen them be able to produce things so much more quickly than what they would have previously. So it has really interesting implications for, as you said, like roadmaps that might have seemed years ahead, being able to bring things much more forward. And I think the big focus for us as well is, and I don't know how much detail we want to go into it, but we've spoken a lot about generative AI here. Agentic AI is the sort of big thing that's starting to become really important and prominent now. And this is a space where you'll see a lot from us pretty soon. I think there's some exciting stuff that we're looking at there. And like the short sort of version of agentic AI is basically the way I like to describe it anyway. Generative AI, you have to tell it to do everything. You have to like, here's the thing, it will give you a response. Then you give it another thing, it'll give you a response. You can think of agentic AI as being a little bit more like an intern who has a little bit more initiative, and you can say, here's the task, go and do that, and it can do different steps. It can make different decisions on the fly, within parameters that you set for it. But that's the next sort of iteration of these tools that you're going to see really quickly out there.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, thinking about AI every day, then you've been on the road, you've been talking to lots of accountants. We did an episode recently about how we're using AI in our practice. What are you hearing from everyone else?
Yeah, so there's a range of ways people are using it. What I've done is I've sort of looked at a few that I think were real sort of standouts, quite accessible, and like they have a pretty tangible impact on businesses straight away. So my assumption is that people here are either already using something like ChatGPT or maybe Microsoft Copilot.
Yep.
So the first one, which I think is just like very quickly becoming table stakes, is using meeting scribes. So there's a whole range of these things. Microsoft have
Yeah, I love them.
Copilot built in. There's Fireflies, Otter. There's probably a new one sprung up today. Like there's lots of options. But these are things that transcribe calls and give you automated notes. You can go back and say, "Oh, I spoke to Dan 6 months ago. What did I actually tell him on that call?" Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Find that information really easily. So that's incredibly valuable.
I had my first experience. We've been using Copilot to transcribe our meetings for a while and generate notes from it. But I had my first experience where someone came to me recently and said, "Hey, we spoke about this thing. Did you say this? You say that?" And I'd sent them the notes, but I could go back to that meeting and look at
Yeah,
it and go, "Yeah, this is what I said."
nice.
It was great. I loved it.
Have you been in meetings yet where people invite their AI agents to come with them?
Yep.
Yeah. That's starting to get like, I was in a meeting the other day with 3 humans and 5 AIs. I don't know why we had so many of them, but
Yeah, right.
yeah, it's
That's funny.
very Skynet-y. But
Yeah.
look, some of the other things people are doing, so like documenting key processes. So it sounds like this is something you guys are doing now, but basically like looking at what your key processes are within the business, and then capturing like the best way to do those things.
Yeah.
And I think there's kind of 2 different ways you can do it. You can type into the AI, like, "This is what I do," or upload a document, or you can talk to it. And I think this is actually a really valuable way to do it. So you could, within most general purpose tools, you can just click a button and speak and explain what your process is. Or you could, if you're using something like Microsoft Teams, record yourself in a meeting for as long as you need to be in there, just explaining, like, "This is the process, this is what I do, walk it out step by step." Then use that transcript to actually create a step-by-step guide that you can roll out across your team.
Yeah.
So that's something that a lot of practices are doing to help boost their standardization efforts.
Yeah, that's great. It's a good idea. So I love all of that. I think we're a tech forward business. We have our concerns with AI, like everyone else. Data security. Will it take our jobs? Things that most people out there are worried about. But it sounds like really most people thinking an investment in people is the most important thing. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. I still think even with AI, people want to speak to people. And I'd assume that's probably not going to change. But if people want to go find this report, Liam, where do they go? How do they find it?
I think the easiest way is to just Google or Perplexity or whatever AI tool you're using, the MYOB Accounting Industry Monitor 2025. You'll be able to download a free copy there.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I suggest everyone go check that out. Love it. All right. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. As always with us, come find us, twodrunkpodcast@gmail.com, Two Drunk Accountants on all the social medias and LinkedIn. Go to our YouTube channel. We're just starting to put all of our videos up on YouTube each week. Sometimes we're about a week behind of putting them up, but we're going to be doing a lot more on YouTube in the coming 6 months or so. So keep an eye out on that. Other than that, we'll be back next week with another episode of the pod. Catch you later.
Thanks, Dan.